All right, let's dive right into this fascinating shift happening directly under our noses. The global automotive industry, which, let's face it, has been defined for over a century by greasy hands, roaring engines, and mechanical perfection, is going through a massive structural inversion. And what's wild to discover here is that this exact scenario has actually played out before. We are watching the automotive world mirror the 2007 telecommunications revolution, almost beat for beat. Think back to a time when your cell phone was, well, just a phone. Do you remember the market back in 2007? Back then, the absolute ultimate competitive moat for a company was mechanical hardware. The titans of the industry dominated because they perfected tactile keyboard ergonomics. I mean, they literally bragged about drop test durability. You bought a phone because it could survive a fall down a flight of stairs, not because it had some amazing software ecosystem. And this illustrates the exact trap legacy automakers are falling into today. On one side, you have the Nokia hardware paradigm, absolute, utter mastery of the physical form, built on these massive supply chains. But on the other side, you've got the Apple's software paradigm, which treats the device primarily as a centralized, software-defined edge computing platform. History tells us exactly how this battle ends. When you pit a mastery of physical hardware against a centralized software ecosystem, the hardware-first approach shatters. Legacy automakers are standing exactly where Nokia stood in 2007. So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll examine the 2007 Nokia Trap. Second, automotive hardware dump soup. Third, the smartphone on wheels. And finally, we'll wrap up with the inescapable paradigm inversion law. Okay, part one, the 2007 Nokia Trap. Let's look at how perfecting physical elements can totally blind an industry to massive architectural shifts. In that pre-iPhone era, the dominant mobile companies were absolutely massive. They had unparalleled physical supply chains. But they had a fatal flaw, hiding right inside their indestructible phones: a fractured architecture. They relied on fragmented operating software, things like the Symbian OS. Their systems were totally isolated. They were constrained. They simply couldn't compete with the speed, the agility, and the ecosystem of a unified software approach because their brains were quite literally fragmented. Which brings us to part two, automotive hardware dump soup. Let's explore how this historical trap perfectly mirrors the fragmentation inside legacy automakers today. Okay, get this. The crucial point is this staggering number, over 100. If you take a traditional vehicle today and look beneath the chassis, you will not find a unified computer. No way. You are going to find over 100 disparate, siloed computing units just scattered all throughout the car. These units are called ECUs, or electronic control units. Each ECU is essentially an isolated computing node. And here's the real kicker. They are supplied by completely different Tier 1 vendors, and they all run locked proprietary code. So one ECU handles the windows, another handles the brakes, another one handles the stereo, and they don't speak the same language. These units are the modern equivalent of that old Nokia Symbian system. They're fractured across the vehicle and stubbornly independent. When you combine over 100 locked proprietary ECUs, you get what industry experts bluntly call hardware dump soup. I mean, imagine trying to push a seamless over-the-air software update across that mess. It's like trying to get 100 different people in a room to agree on what to order for lunch, but they all speak a completely different language and they're all locked in separate closets. It exposes a massive fatal flaw. Legacy brands are treating software as just another physical accessory bolted onto the chassis rather than the core architecture. And when an incumbent firm does this, it enters an irreversible architectural decline. Let's move on to part three, the smartphone on wheels. This is where tech-first disruptors like BYD, NIO, and the consumer giant Xiaomi are completely changing the game. These disruptors are engineering a total consumer electronics inversion. They treat the vehicle as a third living space, anchoring their architecture on four foundational pillars. First, skateboard platform standardization, which basically turns the physical hardware into a stable, commoditized layer. Second, zonal compute consolidation. Third, rapid consumer iteration cycles. And fourth, ecosystem lock-in. Let's break the most important ones down. The biggest shift by far is zonal compute consolidation. Instead of 100 tiny, isolated, confused mechanical brains, these tech disruptors collapse all those ECUs into just a few high-performance central domain controllers. They run a unified operating system. Think of dedicated automotive kernels, or systems like Xiaomi's HyperOS. By utilizing this centralized compute kernel, they can enable seamless, instant over-the-air feature upgrades, bypassing that hardware dump soup entirely. It is absolutely crucial. Now, to put this into perspective, you have to look at the stark contrast in speed here. Look at the development horizon. Legacy automotive companies operate on a traditional 60-month cycle. That is 5 whole years to develop a car. Meanwhile, the tech disruptors, they're leveraging established consumer electronics supply chains to compress this down to a blistering 20-month hardware-software sprint. While the legacy brands are obsessing over mechanical heritage, the disruptors are focused entirely on ecosystem linkage. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't just mechanical propulsion anymore. Value retention is now driven by extending your digital life right into the car. It's about seamless cross-device linkage with your smartphone, your tablet, your smart home automation. It's all about what the source material brilliantly calls the fridge screen sofa architecture. Just imagine your comfortable, integrated living room ecosystem effortlessly extending right into your driveway. It's no longer just a way to get from point A to point B. Which brings us to our final section, Part 4, the paradigm inversion law, the inescapable rule governing this massive industry transformation. Here is the brutal, hard truth for traditional automakers. Perfecting legacy engineering parameters provides absolutely zero defense against a competitor with a superior computational architecture. For a century, the competitive moat was all about internal combustion thermodynamics, transmission smoothness, and, getting those panel gaps down to the millimeter. But electrification has completely flattened all of that. Electric skateboard platforms and instantaneous torque have turned 0 to 100 km/h acceleration into a commoditized utility. Anyone can do it. The new competitive battleground isn't horsepower, it is compute velocity and unified firmware. The consequence of ignoring this shift is just incredibly severe. Organizations that attempt to protect their legacy hardware revenue models, the companies that continue to treat software as an afterthought, inevitably risk becoming low-margin commodity assemblers for the digital platforms of the future. Actually, scratch that. It's not a risk, it's a certainty. If you continue to view the vehicle as a purely mechanical machine, rather than treating the chassis as just a peripheral plugged into a centralized kernel, you're walking the exact same path Nokia walked. Ultimately, this whole paradigm shift leaves us wondering exactly what it is we're buying in the future. Think about how quickly your smartphone completely replaced your camera, your GPS, your calendar. As we watch this structural paradigm inversion take hold of the entire automotive industry, I want to leave you with this final thought. Is your next car really going to be a vehicle, or is it just going to be a comfortable peripheral plugged into a rolling computer?